Hello and welcome everyone. It's really great to have everybody here on a Thursday morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Zach Semke. I'm Director of Passive House Accelerator, and we're very excited about today's Passive House Component Spotlight with Patrick Muzilla of European Architectural Supply. And we'll be getting a 2025 new product spotlight, as well as a live tour of the largest Passive House window showroom in America today. I'm really happy to introduce Patrick Muzilla. Before I do, I'll say that my role today will be as Q&A concierge. So as questions occur to you during today's presentation and during the tour that Patrick will be taking us on, please type them into chat and we will be tracking those. And then when it comes to the question and answer portion of the conversation, we'll invite you to come onto screen and to ask your question directly of Patrick and have some great dialogue going. So Patrick Muzilla is president of European Architectural Supply. He was an early internet software pioneer who, after selling his company to Adobe, decided to take some time off to build his own house. When looking for windows, he started a new fenestration company importing high-performance windows to America. He's currently the managing partner and president of European Architectural Supply, EAS, in Boston. He founded EAS in 2003 to bring high-performance windows to the U.S. building industry. The company is currently a leading supplier of triple-pane windows to residential and commercial projects in all 50 states. So a big thank you to EAS for supporting the Passive House Accelerator, and I'm very happy to hand off the floor to Patrick.
Hi there, everybody. Super excited about doing our first component spotlight with Passive House Accelerator. I'll just tell you a little bit about the format that I'm going to use today. I'm sitting in our showroom. I'll do a really quick presentation for you, focusing on kind of the newest development in the product mix that we're bringing to the market. Whenever I watched these spotlights before, I realized that the audience here is really sophisticated. You guys know a lot about high-performance construction, high-performance building, so I'm not going to go through a primer and triple pane glass and why we're using it. If I skim over any of these things and people have questions about it, there's always going to be a Q&A you can ask me later on. So I'll just do a quick PowerPoint presentation for you. I'll walk through it. Afterwards, we'll give you just a quick, maybe 4 or 5 minute walkthrough through our facility showroom here. I'm just going to show you what's behind the scenes and bring this product to the market. And then we're going to do the Q&A. So I am going to go and share the screen. So give me just 1 second. All right. I'm going to clean up these floating windows. Can you guys see everything okay?
Yes, looks great.
All right. So super excited to be here. Let me just dive right into it. The first slide I have tells us a little bit about the timeline. So you heard from Zach's introduction, the beginnings. In 2003, I'm building my own house, and I'm looking at the Windows offering, and I discovered there's a huge gap between the kind of energy performance that Europeans are getting out of their windows and what was available here. At that time, I didn't think that was feasible to buy windows for your house at a different continent, but I learned a lot about what it would take to ship an order of windows. And a friend of mine was building a house as well, and he was like, can you tell me about these windows? And after I described for him what kind of windows I was planning to get, he was like, I would like the same windows too. So he was customer number 1, I was customer number 2, and then the company was just kind of accidentally born out of that, out of those early days. For the first few years, we were for the most part doing residential projects with R5 double pane windows. The really turning point happened in 2010. When we were approached by Zero Energy Design in Boston. You're probably familiar with a lot of their projects. And they came to us with this project they're building in Rhode Island and said, we're building this very small home and we're going to be building it passive house. And we were like, what is passive house, right? And so we learned about the requirements. We figured out that, they needed, high performance triple pane windows. We found the manufacturer for those windows, brought them into the country. And this was really our first foray into into the passive house world. We essentially we learned everything we had to learn from zero design. At that time, I believe there were 3 or 4 passive house trained architects designers in the Boston area. A year later, we got connected with what we believe is the first passive house in New York City. This was the famous Brooklyn passive house. You've seen, the picture with a thermal camera, the blue house in front of all these glowing, buildings around it. And that was our first passive house in New York. Soon after, we opened our first showroom in Sudbury. I mean, this was our first time when we actually had our own space and we could show our windows to our customers. The next milestone was, okay, we were building these small homes with the passive house principles, and for the first time around 2015, we started having conversations about larger buildings being built this way. Why are we building high rises and large buildings? And we did our first passive house in Manhattan, which was Chris Benedict's project at 153rd Street. And this was, our first experience with doing passive house on a large scale. And that project was incredibly successful. The unit sold out like almost overnight. In 2018, we moved to a much larger facility. The showroom became, 4 times larger. We could show a lot more products, and for the first time, we had a warehouse and distribution center involved in our facility, which was a big game changer. And usually when you move into a new place, probably within just 2 or 3 years, you're outgrowing it, and so we started looking for a larger place in 2023, and that's when we moved into this spectacular facility here, giving us a chance to have a really, really large showroom and a large distribution center here as well. Hold on one second. Hide those controls. I will give you a walkthrough of this facility, and you'll come to understand, why it's a game changer to have something like this, both on the showroom side of things, where you're showing products to customers, but also on the logistics side of things, where you're trying to bring these windows from factories which are far away and bring them to customers here for purchases of different sizes at a reasonable cost. We were super honored. The last thing on this timeline is 2024. We got inducted into the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America. And for us, this was not just a recognition for our company in terms of the way we've been growing, but I think this was also a testament to what was going on to passive house movement and to the high performance construction industry overall. We went from obscurity, being the 0.1% of construction in 2010, to now living in a world where virtually every new multi-unit apartment building in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, over here gets built with passive house principles. We've really come a long way. I will just give you just a couple interesting numbers about the company, and I will talk about why they're important later on. So, of course, I mentioned the 11,000 square foot facility we have here. We believe it's one of the largest high performance showrooms window showrooms in America, if not the largest. We have come a long way from 2003. We now have 11 estimators. I often call them fenestration consultants as well. These are the people who make the projects happen. This is, really important metrics in the maturation of a window company, because the estimators, the fenestration consultants, are really integral to taking your projects from the drawings and bringing them through to the realization. Same way I can speak about our shop drawing team. We have 4 full-time shop drawings draftspeople working. This is a really important part of a company, especially as we're serving architects and designers, even end clients, and solving some of their problems, documenting all of our projects, and getting them ready for manufacturing. Once the windows are here, our service and installation crew, which totals 7 people right now, and we're going to grow it to 9 this summer. These are the people who make sure the windows get properly handled, packed in trucks, delivered to the various locations, and we either assist people in doing the installation of the windows, or we install the windows for them. We're I think one of the only major fenestration companies that brings European windows in that has in-house installation crew. We now carry 10 fenestration brands. We started with 1 or 2 brands at the beginning of the company. We now have 10 fenestration brands, and I will speak to you later on why that is important to us and to your projects. And I was looking for like the 6 statistical tidbit to throw in here. We were just doing an inventory of our hardware parts room. We carry over 6,500 various hardware parts here in New England. We started with almost no parts at all, and over the many years, we started stocking the really important spare parts that people need, during installation or after installation as well, which I think is also a really unique aspect of our company. Let's talk about the product offerings. So, why do we have 10 brands, right? We are a relatively small company. We are just under 30 people right now, so we're definitely considered a small business, but we really live kind of on the shoulders of these giants that provide us with the products that we offer to our customers. Over here, we're just looking at 6 of our largest manufacturing partner companies. If you look at their overall sales turnover, altogether, just the 6 partners provide about $6 billion in fenestration parts. Now, the really interesting thing when you look at this from a scale is that with the European fenestration companies, none of these companies make the finished products. They do not actually make the windows. They make the components, which then they give to local fabricators that make the windows out of them. So when you look at a footprint of $6 billion in window parts and components, the final product that comes out of these brands is probably on the 12 to $15 billion in the final retail product there. In terms of the kind of footprint this provides us, just to give you a sense, like the largest fenestration company here in North America is a $3 billion company. That's our largest manufacturer. So we are really relying on the work of over 100,000 employees in 9 different countries. And what this enables us to do is provide our customers with a really flexible product mix in terms of what their needs are. I kind of say we're like a superstore for fenestration products. Now, why is this important? Why the product mix? So I just outlined 6 kind of main reasons why this is very advantageous to our customers. First one that came to my mind is value engineering. Customers come to us all the time saying, hey, we're struggling with a budget for this project. We're trying to build this passive house. We have 500 windows involved in this project, or 50 windows involved in this project, and we need to lower the cost. What are our options? Having a really wide product mix enables us to give the value engineering support people need. Sometimes we switch from a thermally broken aluminum product to a slightly more affordable aluminum product that can instantly save you 20% of the cost without sacrificing the energy performance. Sometimes people move from one technology to another. Maybe the project is spec'd in PVC windows, but they may consider another product family there as well. Size limitations are a big factor of this as well. Most of the residential homes are maybe done in PVC window products, but there's one lift slide door or one really large opening which simply cannot be done in UPVC, and that specific opening we can do in an aluminum product from a manufacturer, and then we can match colors between the 2 windows. So when you look at the finished house, you have no idea that windows came from one factory and the door came from another. Technology options is a really another factor in here. Very often we deal with very specific requirements. I want to make a sliding door which has 4 sashes that pocket into a pocket. Well, a Schuko lift slide door cannot do that because there's a maximum number of tracks that you can provide a lift slide door with. So we have a different kind of a lift sliding door product which enables you to gives you that flexibility. Lead time is another factor. We have some products we can make incredibly fast. Like our record lead time, I think, was a project delivered in 8 weeks. And we have some products that may take 25 weeks lead time. And so customers can come to us and say, hey, we're running really behind here. We should have been ordering the windows like 4 months ago. We got delayed because of this and that. What can you do for us? And say, well, we have a UPVC brand product, which is 4 weeks faster than this other UPVC product. Are you interested in doing that? And we can give them that flexibility. Customization is another factor in it. This is really important in residential projects where we do some really custom work for architects. Maybe it's a big wall of glass windows, and those windows need to be connected with a matching custom metal panel, which is powder coated exactly the same color as the windows to give you a unified look. So we have certain vendors and certain fabricators that have the capability to provide us with this kind of custom fabrication, and we will steer that particular customer to this product line. And the last one I want to talk about is US product certification. Among the 10 different brands, there are probably 250 different products available from those different brands. Not all of those products have all the US product certifications. So when we are dealing with a customer that's working in a particular code jurisdiction and say, we need to have this particular sound attenuation certificate for the window, we can look at the variety of products available to us and say, this is the product you want to use because they have an up-to-date certificate for what you're looking for. Just a quick outline of where are we active as a company. So for the first 14 years of us being a window supplier, we were very much operating in the Northeast region here. Most of our footprint was really in New England, New York, New Jersey. We had some projects that we did further away on a case-by-case basis. But about 5-6 years ago, people started showing up in our showrooms and would ask them, hey, where are you coming from? And we found out they came from 2,000 miles away. And so our question was, why are you here? How come you learned about us? And they said, well, we saw you guys on Instagram. And we said, well, we don't have Instagram. And we found out that a lot of emerging social media influencers who were very influential in the construction space, and particularly high performance construction space, were using our products, and they were talking about them online. And so suddenly we had this really large influx of customers from kind of all over the United States. And we had to make a decision, like, are we going to remain a New England company, or are we going to try to serve a larger geographic footprint? And we made the decision that we were going to serve all of the states east of the Rockies. Rockies are a little bit of a barrier to shipping windows because you cannot take a triple insulated glass assembly and drive over the Rocky Mountains to the West Coast because your glass would explode. And so for most of our ground distribution, we focus on the states east of the Rockies. Later on, we started focusing on the high altitude glass region. These are all the mountainous regions. And there we sell windows with a specific insulated glass composition that we're not using breather tubes, that we're using special decompression valves, which enable the windows to reach the high altitude. You sacrifice the argon content in the glass itself, but you can supply windows to an elevation of 8,000-9,000 feet. And the one region, because of this barrier that's underserved by us, is the western part of the United States, Hawaii and Alaska, and a little bit Florida as well. On the western side, the only projects we take on are done on a case-by-case review. These projects typically require full container shipments. They cannot be cost shipped in smaller in shared containers. And so this is the area where we have least of our projects. And to some extent, I will say we are only active there on a really case-by-case basis. I just run a really quick, we have a Google Maps of all of our different projects, so you can just kind of see the distribution of those projects, kind of mirroring the map that I showed you earlier. I want to speak a little about life cycle of a fenestration project, right, for us. And the reason why I want to talk, spend just a little bit of time about this, you have probably had experience with this before as you were working on your passive house projects. At the beginning, you are putting your design together, and you typically get to a point where we need to figure out how much this is going to cost. And so you uh, get in contact with a number of window suppliers, and you go through kind of the estimating portion of the project. Now, when you're in this early phase of the project, you're not really just doing estimating. Uh, there's a number of people that can just very quickly look at your window schedule and just quickly throw it into a quoting software and give you a price for it. Our fenestration estimators are really fenestration consultants. They're not only providing you with pricing for the window package, but they're also doing in the moment structural engineering for your particular project. We look at the wind speed that your project is in, we check the zip code where you're located, and as we're pricing the project, we're already doing structural engineering analysis for it. There is no point in giving you a price for a window that from an engineering point of view does not satisfy the wind load that you're looking at. And so we get really technical early on in the estimating phase, and we do a lot of consulting for our customers, both in terms of feasibility, both in terms of affordability and value engineering. So by the time you enter the next phase of the project, which is the shop drawings phase, most of the question marks have already been answered and feasibility has already been tested. Once you get into the shop drawings phase, you interact with our shop drawings team. This is a team of 4 draftspeople, all of whom are former architects. These are people that architecture clients get along really well. There's a lot of back and forth, sharing details, working on details, refining details, and of course, building the documentations for the project. This is just a wonderful group of people in our company. They do such important work, both for us in terms of protecting us by building very accurate documentation packages where everybody's on the same page of what kind of windows we're building. But they're also an amazing resource to the architects that they work with and who they provide support with. These are, some of our favorite employees, and we get a lot of praise from the architects on the work that they do. Once all of this work is done, the deposit is paid, children's are approved, we send the project to manufacturing. There's a little bit of a quiet time, in the process where we wait for the factory, maybe 8 weeks or 12 weeks, get the windows to us. Once the windows reach the U.S. shores right here, the delivery and installation team kind of takes over. This is the team that handles the international logistics. It handles the distribution of the products, whether they're going in our company trucks or whether being shipped on full truckloads, secondary truckers who maybe ship the windows for us to Texas or to Missouri. This is the team that's also involved in installation. We're trying to empower a lot of the builders to install our products. And so very often we train crews on how to install our windows. They can hire one of our installers just for a day on an hourly basis, and we go to the job site. We spend a whole day with another crew, and we install the first few windows with them and get them going. Some projects require full turnkey installation assistance. In this particular case, we send an entire crew out and we handle everything from the delivery, the unloading, the logistics, and the installation and commissioning of that project. Having an in-house crew has been absolutely critical to our growth, particularly as we started selling the more complicated fenestration prototypes, curtain walls, really large lift slide doors, oversized lift slide doors, complicated malt window assemblies. And I think this resource is a big reason why a lot of particularly very demanding residential customers come back to us over and over with their projects. And then the last one, which is probably the least favorite part of a window supplier's life, is the after sales support. It's a necessary part of the process. It's after sales support in the first few weeks after delivery, make sure the crews have everything that they need to complete the installation of the project. It includes little things like, hey, we misplayed some of these parts and we're going to have to reorder them. Somebody's ladder just fell over and we broke a piece of glass. How quickly can you get us a new piece of glass delivered and installed? This includes warranty service and this includes enormous amount of post-warranty service. We have customers who have had our windows for 22 years, and believe it or not, we have done service at that customer's home just a couple of years ago. So we do service on windows we sold 22 years ago. So all of these resources we put together, what is the result of all this? It really gives us the capability to service a wide range of projects. A lot of high performance window companies focus on a particular niche. They are maybe just doing large scale apartment buildings, or they are only doing custom homes, and projects of a small size really are too small for them. We really do a very wide range of projects. The custom homes are an obvious one. That's kind of the space that we kind of grew out of. But we do an enormous amount of affordable homes, small affordable homes, and affordable housing developments as well. We're able to co-ship 6 customers' projects in a single container, and dramatically reducing the cost of transport cost involved in that, and making essentially the projects feasible. We in the last 10 years we started doing larger multi-unit housing projects. We were super excited to see that high performance buildings kind of graduated from the small scale to the large scale, and this is becoming a big portion of our activities as well. We have also done a lot of very unique academic projects. These are typically very prestigious projects for architects with unique requirements. The picture I have here is a project we did with Robert M. Stearns at Colgate University, a truly one-of-a-kind building, which was built to passive house performance, while the building looks like it's 100 years old. I put oceanfront and island projects here as well. Projects which are on the water in corrosive environments have some really unique challenges. They have challenges in terms of wind loading and design. We're really getting these buildings ready for a Category 3 hurricane, which will eventually, strike our coastline here up north. But also, special finish requirements for pre-anodization and special pre-treatments are needed, particularly for thermally broken aluminum projects. And then the last category of projects that we get involved in are large-scale retrofits. This picture is from the Casa Pasiva projects in New York City. I believe this is the largest retrofit that I know of in North America. We retrofitted windows in 11 buildings of affordable housing, with people living in the apartments as we were doing the retrofit of those windows. And in this particular case, we did the supply, we did the installation of all the commercial doors in the lobbies, and we assisted the local crew with the training necessary for the window installation here as well. I will just walk you through the product lineup really quickly. You notice I didn't speak a lot about this during the presentation because I think you are already familiar with a lot of these products. I think you already have them in your designs. UPVC windows are the workhorse of high performance construction at a very affordable budget. We carry 4 different brands of UPVC windows with various advantages and cost comparisons in terms of white versus windows with foil. We have a wide variety of aluminum windows supplied from 2 major brands, one more of a premium brand, which is Schuco, and Aluprof and Rainier is a little bit more of an affordable brand with a little bit of a savings. We do projects in aluminum curtain wall. We are specialists in residential curtain wall applications. We do wood curtain wall as well, which is a super kind of a unique niche expertise in the fenestration industry. Of course, wood and wood aluminum clad windows. Here, our biggest problem is lead time with the factory, because the number of windows that we sell in this particular category clogs up the manufacturing capacity that we have. And one of the reasons for that is our wood aluminum clad windows are, in my opinion, among the best in the world in terms of the execution of these windows. So there's very few things I can think of that we could improve on these windows. And the last category I put in here are large fenestration, large sliding doors, whether they're lift slide doors or narrow profile doors, and we are definitely a specialist in that. Aside from this, I want to talk to you about new things. So a lot of these products, and I'm going to speak about them in greater detail, are products that people have been asking us for quite a while. This includes us launching steel windows for the first time in our history this year. We're also launching exterior shading products, super exciting for passive house designers. We are also experimenting with an aluminum cladding product line for very particular designs. Custom extrusions is a new product activity for us, and I will explain later on why this could be a game changer for a lot of commercial applications. I will talk to you a little bit about our skylights that we're bringing in. This is essentially just making it more convenient for our customers to be able to come get a window package from us and get the skylight package all in a single order. And I will talk to you a little bit about the new development with embodied carbon reporting, and I think this is going to be interesting to a lot of you who are curious about embodied carbon in the products that you're putting into your building. So let me just walk through these one slide at a time. Steel windows. So for 22 years, we've been really looking at steel windows with a certain degree of skepticism. Steel windows were typically lower energy efficiency. They did not have sufficient thermal breaks in them. We replaced a lot of steel windows due to condensation problems with them, and so we always, we're looking at the customer requesting steel windows, and we're saying, we could import steel windows in this country. We just were not sure the technology was at a point where we would be confident installing it in high performance buildings. That all changed in the last 3 or 4 years when the new generation of steel products came up. And so starting this month, we're launching a product catalog for steel windows. The frame that we settled on, you're seeing right there on the screen, enables you to use glass of up to 60 millimeters. You can see there's a substantial thermal break in the window, and so you can accomplish phenomenal center of glass performance and a very decent UF value performance out of these windows. Again, the windows are welded in their corners, so they're incredibly structurally stable, and they enable you to do operable sashes of very large size. To a great extent, steel windows are driven by aesthetics, and so if you have clients who specifically want this kind of look, it's good to know that you now have a high performance product that you can offer to them and not sacrifice the energy performance of your envelope. Exterior shading. So from the really early days of passive house, with the PHA calculations early on and the other modeling techniques, summertime overheating is always a huge challenge for passive house design, as most of you are probably familiar with. You're trying to deal with these challenges through overhangs, orientation of your building, selection of your fenestration, but sometimes you want large fenestration and you don't have the luxury of an overhang, and suddenly you have to deal with a really massive cooling load for this building in August. Exterior shading is really the way to solve this problem. The moment you're shading the window on exterior, you have complete control over solar heat gain, and you can bring your SHGC from 50 or 60 all the way down to a single digit number if needed. The big game changer that just happened in the last 2 years, the housing sizes are becoming smaller, so it's much easier to integrate this into your design, even in a 2x6 wall assembly, and potentially even conceal the window shading housing within your cladding assembly. The second big development was the exterior shading systems are now available in fully self-contained solar-powered systems. So you have absolutely no need for an electrician, no coordination between the European and the North American power voltage systems. And essentially you can supply windows with shading pre-mounted on the windows. So there's even no installation cost involved in it as well. And the big advantage of the fabric systems is that they are available with wind resistance up to 70 miles per hour, which means you don't have to draw the shades for most storm conditions. And the sizes of some of these roll shades can be as wide as 19 feet. So you are able to span very large openings, lift slide doors, etc. We believe this product at this point is mature enough that we want to bring it to North American market. We are only going to be selling this system as an accessory to our window packages, so we're not selling it standalone. We may change our decision on that later on, but right now this is essentially an accessory benefit to our current fenestration customers. Cladding is a product that we are going to be launching later this year. This is an aluminum cladding system which enables you to create really interesting textured cladding on your buildings with vertical cladding designs. This is a very specific design intent here. If you have projects that could use something like this, please speak to our staff, reach out to us. And we're essentially looking right now for the first group of pioneering customers to test this out in North America. We'll give Architects Preferred pricing for this as well. We want to test this product out in North America and hopefully make this part of a stable part of our product offering. Alongside with this product, we are launching custom windows extrusions. For many years, we've been getting primarily larger scale commercial projects coming in with rain screen designs and requirements for window boxes around the windows. In most instances where we saw this details implemented, architects had to struggle with custom metal fabrication, extrusions that were not particularly suitable for the particular wall assembly that they were trying to put together, trying to bolt them onto the windows, and install them alongside with the windows, and having sequence problems with waterproofing around the windows. And so we asked our questions, if we had the flexibility to design a specific extrusion for this particular need and to customize the extrusion to the specific commercial customer, what would that look like? And we came up with our own design, which has huge installation advantages and cost advantages, we believe, as well. And because many of these projects are large, they include 100 windows or more, it is completely justifiable to invest the money into a custom extrusion. We believe that installation cost savings are greater than the cost of the extrusion itself. So if you have projects of this type, please reach out to us. The last thing I want to talk about is embodied carbon reporting. So we just came back this winter from the trade show in Munich, Germany at BAU, and Shuko was talking a lot about this. Embodied carbon is something that a lot of you are asking about. You know, what is the CO2 that was involved in the manufacture of this particular product that I am specifying for this building? As of today, for every aluminum Shuko window that we make, and we can do it in PVC windows as well, we get the exact accounting of embodied CO2 in that particular product. So I just put a screenshot right here of this is a window we priced last week, and I just went into the report that we get from Shuko, and you see the GWP value right there. This specific window with this glass configuration has 220.88 kilograms of CO2 embodied in its production. This includes the production of the aluminum. This includes the production of the glass, production of the spacers, the gaskets, the hardware, the logistics and transportation that was involved in it, even the energy involved in fabricating this window. And once you have this value, Shuko gives us now an opportunity to reduce this value. So for instance, would you like this aluminum to be brand new aluminum? Or would you like to get the window manufactured from recycled aluminum content? How is that going to impact the embodied carbon for that particular project? There are really big, the embodied carbon changes dramatically for UPVC windows, which are made from brand new PVC, versus windows, which is made for partially recycled PVC in them as well. And almost all of our Shuko windows right now that we sell already have partially recycled PVC in them. And this value can drop from 220 kilograms to 140 kilograms if you use recycled content in the window. So this is something that's exciting that we actually have this metric available for our customers. And I think a lot of you are probably going to be reaching out to us and saying, "Hey, you price this window package for me. Can you tell me what is the embodied carbon involved in this particular fenestration package?" Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Now, Zach, if you give us a little bit of time, I'm going to switch
Yeah,
over to a
absolutely.
second headset. I will
Yep.
put the screen sharing on hold
Okay,
right here.
awesome. Yeah, Patrick, yeah, please, as Patrick's doing that, I'll just reflect a couple of things. One is it's really cool to see a manufacturer responding to the embodied carbon concerns in this way. I think it's that ability to customize is really interesting. And so it's cool to see that, and it'll be great to see that develop. It was really fun to see the timeline of your work and to see that iconic thermal image there in New York, as well as the Chris Benedict project and kind of the history that European architectural supply has had in the development of Passive House, and also cool and gratifying to see the growth of the company with that Inc. 5 or the 5,000 list, and the congrats on the uptake from the Instagram influencers. That's pretty cool. It must feel good to put something out there and get that kind of surprise lift from the community. So how's it going there, Mark?
I
I
think
think
we're ready.
Mark.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, great,
Okay, I will give you
excellent.
just a really quick walkthrough right over here. So this area where I was sitting right now, this is kind of the heart of the showroom. This is where we sit down with our customers. You can see you're just surrounded by a sea of window cross sections here, right? This is just a fraction of the various products that we have available to customers, but it's nice that you can just reach out and you can show people the different kinds of products. And a lot of customers come here thinking they're going to be buying this window from us, and they may end up switching to a completely different system when they look at the various advantages and disadvantages of each system. The nice thing about the new showroom, where we finally had a little bit of a square footage to work with, we have a lot of door products here as well. Entry doors are really difficult to visualize, and so it's just kind of nice to have a lot of different varying door samples in here, and we know that they're successful because a lot of the doors that we have here, we sell a lot of doors of that particular type because people walk right to it, they touch it, and they are like, this is the door, this is the entry door that I want for my home. In our old showroom, we really had a hard time showing large fenestration products. In this showroom, for the first time, we could put in a 10-foot tall lift slide door with a 20-foot width right over here, and give people a sense of what does it feel to operate a door like this. People can also come in here and visualize, what does a 10-foot door look like versus a 9-foot door. And it's really great not to have to do it just on blueprints, but also in real world. Here at the entrance to our showroom, we said, when we're building this space, we're making these openings, we're like, we have to use our commercial products, for this opening. And this is essentially the kind of fenestration you see at the entrance to most commercial projects, multi-unit projects. These are the projects that require unique hardware sets with panic bars, electric strikes, electric door controls, and whatnot. And even, right over here, this is the dividing wall between our showroom and our office space right here. Even this is a display item for us. Here we're looking at our Cortizo, narrow profile doors here. We do not see a lot of these projects in passive house projects because of the air infiltration, slightly higher infiltration values. But if you only have one of these doors, you can probably still pull off a passive house project. This is a door product. There's a lot of flexibility in configurations. You can do many tracks and really large assemblies with this door as well. Aside from the showroom, I'm just going to walk to the less glamorous part of our business, but a really important aspect of why people do business with us, and that's the logistical problem that I was talking about. We can get windows from the factory in Europe to Boston Harbor in as few as 19 days. But there's a lot of complexity that's involved in getting that window to the customer and having them be successful with the installation and delivery of that of the project. As you walk in here, this is our warehouse distribution facility, which plays a really integral part in making this happen. Over here, we look at some of the machinery that's involved in installation of really large glass assemblies. We have glazing robots that enable us to lift and install units which are 1,400 pounds, make it a lot safer for our crew and everybody on the job site as well. When you walk into the warehouse here, we have 3 different loading docks, so we can unload multiple containers at the same time. And you can see here, we have a number of projects that came in here. Some of these projects are small enough that they wouldn't justify being shipped in a dedicated containers. This container that came this morning, and we have just the last pallet coming out of it. I see the container packing plan right here, and I can say that there is a project here that's going to Portland, Maine, a project going to Boston, to Northport, Maine, Sherman, Connecticut, and Austin, Texas. So all of those customers were in this particular container. It took us many, many years before we finally were able to get this kind of a warehouse space, and already we feel like we could use a distribution center twice this size. When you are selecting the company for supplying your fenestration package, think about some of these issues. What happens if the windows come in and the project is not ready for the installation? Can you store the windows on site? Can the windows stay at the distribution center for just 7 extra days to get them to the customer? This is the kind of space that gives us flexibility and helps us out take care of our customers better. All right, I'm going to sit back at the desk now, and we're going to do Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. That's great tour. That was really fun. A very unique component spotlight as well. So thanks for bringing that to us. We have lots of questions. So let's dive in. We're going to start though with Michael Ingwe, the founder of Passive House Accelerator. How's it going, Michael?
Good, and I'm so sorry because I'm definitely jumping the line. So
yeah, it's a founder's prerogative. You're good. You're good.
So first of all, that was a fantastic spotlight. So thank you, and it was great to walk through your facility. And just so you know, just from this standpoint, just looking at it on a computer, you really can sense it and feel it. So it was great. I mean, I have a lot of questions, and some of them I'm just gonna have to call you on because I have a few projects that I think could really use some of this stuff. Love the cladding product. I have a test project for us, I think. So we'll talk about that. But questions that I think other people might want to know about too. I'd love to know just how well the steel windows perform. I do a lot of passive house projects, as you know. I have clients who, I mean, they do anything for steel windows. So I was really happy to see it. They would even maybe not have a certified house if they could have it. But the problem I've been having is even my non-certified project, when I start to really get into the steel and something that actually really is thin enough to really make that visual difference for somebody, the performance is still not there. So I want to get a sense of like just how good are they. I know you can only do so much with steel. So I wanted to get that was my first question. My second question is can you please sell the shading without your windows sometimes? I would also like to do it with the windows. I cannot explain to you how much I fell in love with that exterior shading and the size and what you were describing. Although it'd be great to do it with your windows. But I feel like there's just so many things you brought up today that in my mind solve a lot of problems. I love the cladding. I love that shading. I love the steel windows. I can go on, but I won't because I don't want to take up everybody's time. But maybe just hit those.
So I'll start with steel windows first, right?
Yeah.
So most of the steel window projects that we worked on in the past, people would come to us with a steel window package, usually an astronomical number, like, hey, we got this quoted $1 million for windows, right? And most of the windows
without the glass, by the way. I just want to interrupt you for one second. Without the glass, Hopes and some of the others. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the names, but because we use them all. I do a lot of steel, unfortunately, but they're selling them without the glass. Or I'm sorry, they will install the glass, but on site from a different vendor. Like, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that puzzled us too, by the way. We heard that, right? And so we typically these projects, what would happen is we would look at that, we would look at the energy performance, and we would essentially convert these projects into thermally broken aluminum projects, right? We saved 50% of the cost or more for some of these projects. We were still able to achieve a lot of the sizes. We used the 1-inch muntins to simulate the kind of thin look of the steel windows and dramatically improve the energy performance for them. And so steel windows, the one that I showed you right over there, the center of glass energy performance is exactly what you're going to get out of our own windows. In fact, the glass comes from the same factory. So you have the exact same single pane assembled, and the center of that glass is going to have 0.105, 0.088 European U value right in there. So glass is fantastic. Steel windows are great because they have very small frame footprint on it. So they have a lot less face width on them, but the UF value of the frame is obviously not what you're getting from a PVC product or even from a thermally broken aluminum product. And the reason for this is not the size of the thermal break. There's actually really substantial thermal break right in there, but you cannot create cavities in steel like you can do in aluminum or UPVC. The performance, though, of the frame is already better than what most North American windows had as frame performance, even just a few years ago. Many even have today. So it is not a bad window from a thermal point of view. Are steel windows going to go in passive house projects? We're not sure. So we do a lot of projects in the passive house community. We do a lot of projects in the good house community, right? And we do a lot of projects which are not in these groups, but we educate customers about, hey, let's use a good window in this project. And we often, when I'm sitting in this showroom and I'm maybe doing the final smoothing with the customers, and I talk about the estimate, hey, so what kind of windows are we selling to you? And they say this double pane, and I'm like, hold on, it's like, what kind of discount do I have to give you guys so that I don't have to sell you a double pane, right? That's a little like, what does it take? Because when we sell double pane windows to somebody, I feel like we failed. And double pane windows are like 5% of our sales right now. So we're doing a good job in that regard. At least for the steel window community, which is very often driven by aesthetics, we want to provide that project with the best performing window, best performing glass that we can. And probably a year, 2 years from now, I will be able to have conversations with you about water infiltration, air infiltration, because the hardware system's a little different for those windows. But it is a pretty decent window by North American standards, for sure. But we're going to know what those limitations are. Exterior shading, I knew that you and others on this call are going to be very excited about it. Yeah. Exterior shading, we did exterior shading with louver blinds, but they had very large housing. So louver blinds, you had a big box with 10 by 4 inches on top of your window. It was really, it's easy to hide it in an 18-inch masonry opening. It was really difficult to cope with that in a 2 by 6 wall assembly right over here. The small factor of these blinds, the wind resistance, and the width capability. So with louver blinds, we could not do 18 feet, 19 feet. 19 feet is going to take care of 95% of our lift slide doors. You will be able to have a very large lift slide door, press a button, and you're gonna cut the SHGC in there. And most of the shading will happen when people are not in the buildings. Yeah. They are at work. Like 3, 4 p.m. There's an enormous amount of sun that can be hitting this in the fall or in the spring, and you can really overheat these buildings. And now suddenly you're like, am I really going to be cooling this room like in October?
You run the numbers, the cost savings from that. Run the numbers. The cost savings from that's going to pay for that quickly.
Absolutely. And then the fact of not having to involve electricians in it, and for smaller window assemblies, we'll be able to pre-mount the rails and the boxes to our windows. So you're going to receive a window for us, and it will have the exterior shading on it pre-mounted. So there is zero installation cost here, which is, it's expensive. It's a very expert installation. And to be able to do it at the factory versus to do it at the job site 6 hours, north of Boston, I think it's going to be a huge economic benefit to our customers. So I think the cost is right, the electrical complexity is right, and the benefits to the thermal design of the building are huge.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Patrick. All right, David Solomon. David, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Great to see you, Zach. Great to see everybody.
Likewise.
Patrick, thank you very much. That was a fantastic presentation. Question about tariffs, right? Just you're importing windows. How's it going? What do you see on the horizon? Yeah, kind of. I know that the only consistent thing here is uncertainty. But what's your approach to just kind of dealing with this current political climate?
Yeah, so tariffs are definitely a big factor in our business. Today, we're going to be paying tariffs almost every day. We pay tariffs on containers coming in. The aluminum products are the most significantly impacted with a 25% tariffs, and everything else that comes from Europe is 10% tariff. 10% doesn't look like a lot today because almost everything that comes into the country that you buy at the store is impacted by the 10% tariff. The impact on our customers, and so we are very transparently passing the tariffs to our customers, and we made a decision not to wrap the tariff into the product cost. We put it as a line item in all of our quotes, and so we send a window quote out and we say, when this window is entering the country with the current tariff rules, this is the surcharge that's going to be tariff. If the container is entering the country on Wednesday and Trump decides to turn the tariff on Tuesday, zero tariffs. I didn't have to increase the cost of the window on you, and this is the cost. For most projects, the tariff translates between 4 and 9% of the cost of the overall package. We did some really creative things on the invoicing side because the tariffs are paid on the invoicing side of the windows. I can't go into the details of it, but we were able to absorb a significant portion of this cost, and the amount that we're passing to our customers is between 4.5% and 9%. It's not an insignificant amount of money. It's there are days when we pay $20,000 in tariffs just in a single day. So it's really impact. But people are seeing the cost, and it's still. But people add up all the numbers, and they still say, "I want to get this windows, for our project." So if the tariffs do not get worse, hopefully they're going to get better as we move forward. We sincerely hope that we're gonna weather this storm.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm actually really glad to hear your approach, and I agree with that. There's other manufacturers that I've talked to that are sort of hiding the impact and doing creative things to absorb it, because I mean that's what they feel like they have to do, and I get that, but I think I agree with your approach to just be transparent, and people really have to understand the ramifications of their decisions. Cool. Well, I have another question, but I'll let other people ask theirs first. So I'll talk to you again in a couple minutes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Jeff, you're up. Maybe choose one or two of the questions. I know you have lots, and we can come back for the remainders.
The question about delivery, I think, was fairly well answered. One note: just yesterday, the court ordered that tariffs were unconstitutional, and that they ordered refunds to people that have already paid them. So take a look at the news. Okay, what was the other question? Okay, so thin glass. Are you guys going into the thin glass four pane type of stuff? I've got a client that's mildly interested in it, and just wanted to know if that is something that's not ready for prime time. Is it just a gimmick? I mean, there's some understanding that vortices and stuff like that make a difference. What's your question on that? I'll leave that as my big question.
So we're staying away from films and thin glass in the glass assemblies. A lot of North American manufacturers are so inflexible on changing the design of their sash to accommodate a better glass assembly. And so they are like, hey, we're not going to change the way we make our windows. We have to squeeze the energy performance in this very narrow glass pocket that we have right in there. So they're forced to look for technological solutions like that. We had films in between insulation glass. That was a huge failure, a lot of lawsuits about it. Now we have the thin glass options. For us, there's absolutely no need to do that. So that steel window that I showed you right over there enables you to put 60 millimeters of glass in there. you can have bulletproof glass assembly and still make it energy efficient, within that pocket. We do triple pane and quadruple pane glass, so you can order from us PVC windows, aluminum windows, wood windows with quadruple pane glass assemblies. 4 millimeter pane of glass in Europe is really cheap. It's like, it's a commodity. When you look at all the other things that go into building and kind of all technology goes in there, high performance glass is really, really inexpensive. I would even argue that fenestration packages are inexpensive. So we do a lot of commercial projects. Almost every apartment building in Boston is now high performance. European windows are already drawn in the specs right in there. We go to the projects and the project costs $30–40 million. What do you think is the cost of the UPVC window package? It's like $350,000. It's a rounding error. I talk to the customers like, this building is not expensive because of us. I mean, $350,000, you can even put a 10% tariff on top of that or whatnot. The windows are not the expensive part of the building. I often argue that you can build a building out of PVC windows cheaper than out of the wall assemblies that we're seeing right in there. With brick, suspended brick, rain screens, insulated assemblies, everything that goes into a wall assembly. We believe that, for example, UPVC large format windows are lower cost per square foot than the actual wall assemblies that go.
Absolutely true in
there.
multifamily. Absolutely true in multifamily. I focus mostly on single family and attainable housing, so my costs are very, very important. And that's where you get the $50–$60,000, 1,500 square foot house fenestration packages. So that's that's where I think that's where we're missing things in this country. Large scale multifamily, phenomenal. I'm so happy that it's become like a standard. But I talk with building inspectors all over my region that desperately want to get builders involved in this kind of thing and doing it. They're changing their codes. They're doing stretch code. They love me because of what I do, but one of the biggest frustrations is trying to convince these people to go with the better windows, which is substantially different when you're dealing with that size building. Thank you.
I believe that the PVC windows save you more money in your mechanicals than the savings if you went to like a SAP standard North American. I don't think it would be worth downgrading the window package in most cases.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Patrick. And next up, we have Rosmal. How are you, Rosmal? I think you're here. I saw you. Yep, great.
Yeah.
Hey.
My question is, this product is coming from not from US, I believe, right? I mean Canada. So how is that going to affect Canadian projects? Is it coming through US or is it coming through some other place? Because there is no tariff if you bring it to Canada.
Yeah, so we are currently focusing on the US market. So all of our products come from our European factories, and so we import directly into the US. We currently we're not active in Canada. It was just a decision we made a few years ago. But there are definitely European windows are available in Canada right now from other vendors there as well. So we're not like in the drought that we were in like 10 years ago. Like people have options now. One of the reasons why I spend a lot of time kind of talking about us and how we do our business is because you do have choices today. You can buy European windows from a number of different vendors. And I was just kind of giving you a sales pitch here of like, why work with a mature company like us. So in Canada, you have access to high performance windows and European windows as well. So I can direct you to some.
Yeah, I mean, we like our neighbor. We would like to buy from US over Europe, but that option is evaporated. Things might get better in the future, but right now it's a situation. Let me ask a quick question. I have a project, a library close to a wooded area. And because of this forest fires and all that, the client is looking at options of protecting the windows. I mean, the building is good, but we hear the research shows that the windows blow up with the heat. So is it tempered glass, UPVC? Is that how it works? In a situation like that, a wooded area?
You may be referring to thermal shock breakage on glass. It's typically involved with thermal variations in the surface of the glass with some type of shading. Pre-cover should not really be a problem for most of the projects. Usually it's interior window treatments, object placed against the windows, and stuff like that. Tempered glass assembly is a bulletproof way to really, sorry, I didn't mean bulletproof. I mean, like, it's the sure way to protect your windows. You temper your glass, you will, for the most part, prevent any kind of thermal shock, spontaneous cracking, or anything like that. Laminated glass is very strong and it's shatterproof, but laminated glass can experience thermal cracks and quite often actually experiences thermal cracks in it as well. So tempered glass will definitely take care of it. Tempered glass is as much as 10 times stronger than annealed glass under various thermal conditions.
What about the PVC window frames? How is
that shouldn't impact at all? No. So these windows that I have right here behind me, the PVC and the aluminum frames, they get the glass from the exact same factory. So, single pane factory makes identical glass for both our PVC and aluminum products.
So what about the PVC? Will it melt on the heat of forest fire heat? Yes, it would, right?
You're talking about forest fire?
Yes.
Okay. So with forest fire, obviously, aluminum and PVC is going to melt eventually under flame exposure. So for forest fires, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your questions. I did not know that we were talking about forest fire resistive construction. You definitely want to use tempered glass, but you want to use your other forms of protection as well. And this is where the steel window, like we were talking about, like just justification for steel window with tempered glass assembly is going to be by far the most resistive window in a forest fire installation. And triple pane glass is going to be dramatically more resistive than double pane glass because it's going to take a while for the third pane of glass to fracture during a fire exposure.
Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, no, I understand because it's a special location, and the client is looking at it, fire rating on the window. We didn't have to worry about in the past, but things have changed, and now they are looking at a different option. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosmal. Yeah, great questions. We're back to David.
Cool. Hey, thanks. Okay, so my other question was about you had mentioned some curtain wall products, and you showed the entry to your office there with the panic hardware. And I know that Schuco has had, I don't know what brand it was. I know Schuco's had those kind of offerings for a while. Like particularly interested in the doors because we have egress requirements and there's the panic hardware and accessibility requirements and everything, and it's often difficult to get passive house quality entry doors that meet those standards. Are there alternatives to that satisfy those requirements other than Schuco? In the past on my projects, I've used Conair products and have just the buildings have been large enough where I can take a performance hit and we just weather strip the hell out of them and manage to meet the metrics that we have to meet. But I'm still always looking for a better cost-effective alternative, so something less expensive than Schuco but better than performance-wise than what I can get from Conair.
So you remember I spoke to you about the kind of product mix and why we have it. So that door right there, I could make it with the Aluprof product line, have the exact same metrics, and we save 30% of the cost. Same ADA threshold, electronic locks, locking system, panic bar, and whatnot. One company has $1 billion marketing budget, and the other company has a $120 million marketing budget. We all pay for the marketing somehow, right? It's in that product somewhere. Schuco is a spectacular brand. The quality of the products is phenomenal. The quality of the little components in there is phenomenal. But I can tell you that I have aluminum cross sections right here, which are Schuko, which are Aluprof, and they're really difficult to tell apart because they're so similar to one another in terms of the engineering. We are a specialist in passive house commercial entry doors. So like a lot of projects struggle with this. We work a lot of like big apartment buildings where maybe another vendor sold them the windows and they come to us to supply the door package for them. Often we do it only just as a favor to the builders. We want to do full fenestration packages for them, but we've done a lot of ADA doors for passive house projects. We learned how to do airtightness with ADA doors. We did with the first certified school in North America was the Hollis Montessori Passive House School. I think it was like 10 years ago or so. And this building had, I think like 6 sets of doors, and some of them are French ADA threshold doors right in there. That building, blower door tested at 0.32 ACH 50. With 6 of these doors right over there. These doors have mechanical drop-down gaskets, so they're incredibly airtight. As the gaskets land on the ADA thresholds, the only air leakage you can have in the corners, bottom corners of the doors. But for this building, these 6 doors simply did not have enough air leakage to poison your ACH 50 blower door test. And so it's fantastic that you can do, especially a large scale. Large scale is good for you because if you do the rest of your building well, this building had Schuko UPVC windows on them, which are incredibly airtight. Those ADA doors just did not make enough of a dent in the blower door test. So
Great.
You can definitely do passive house buildings with these doors.
Okay. Well, I look forward to talking more. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And next up, we have Greg Bishop. How's it going, Greg? Make sure that Greg is here. No, Greg had to leave. Shoot. So we have Eric Zeiss.
Getting there. Thank you very much. Wonderful set of offerings that you have. I'm curious, and I'm not quite sure how to phrase this properly, at least politically correctly. And that is, there are a number of U.S. manufacturers of passive house construction fenestration, and I was wondering where those fit in the product mix and what your impression of directions that are coming locally are.
Sure. So for the first time in the history of our company, we're starting to look at North American brands of windows. 10 years ago, we just had almost no options. Almost all the high performance windows that were coming, that were available here came from another continent. In the last few years, for the first time, we're now having product options from North America, and we're trying to figure out how could we, as a fenestration company, tap into those manufacturers and offer them to our customers. To a great extent, I was always talking to my employees and saying, like, we're going to be out of business if the North American manufacturers do their jobs properly, right? What are we going to do then? And I said, well, we're going to sell those windows, right? Because to a great extent, when I described to you this facility and the people who kind of work for us, our expertise is really, we're like fenestration consultants. We look at all of these products right in here, and we help you select the right product. There's no reason why one of these products could not come from North America, and we're looking at those options as well. A lot of the government-funded projects have the BABA requirement, the Build America, Buy American requirements, and so we want to have the ability to access those projects. And we are either going to do a hybrid of maybe we make a portion of the window in Europe and we make more than 50% of it here in North America, or we are going to tap into new high-performance window brands here in North America. They're just a handful of them right now, but we are carefully looking at them and seeing if we could essentially become a dealer for them here in North America. So this is definitely something we're thinking about.
Thank you. One other question. Which of your brands can you integrate with the external window blinds?
Oh, so all of them.
Oh.
All of them we can.
Okay, beautiful.
The rail system on the sides of the blinds. So these blinds have a zip screen system in them. So actually the fabric sits within the track, and the track is so small that it fits on all of our window offerings as well as curtain wall as well. So I do not know a product that we have where it would be impossible to do that. The only problem you have, any kind of fenestration is the handles on the outside, you have to provide clearance for the handle. So anything, it's always a problem for us even right now with insect screens. With the insect screens, the moment you have an entry door with a handle on the outside, we have to think about how we're going to make an insect screen work 3-4 inches outside of the plane of the door, because we have some kind of hardware component out there. So aside from that, they're really easy to mount, and you can mount these systems to our windows, or you can mount them to the wall assembly. So this can be mounted onto the trim components of the project as well. You can bury the tracks within your trim. So when you look at that window with the shading drawn, you have no idea that there is exterior shading on that window. Both the housing on the top and the tracks on the side can be completely embedded in a trim assembly.
In a cursory exploration of your site, I wasn't able to find information on those curtains, and any hints as to how to get information?
Reach out to us directly. Our website is so out of date. Reach out to our estimating team, and they will send you specific CAD files, PDFs for the specific shading systems and a lot of the other products as well. Actually, I apologize for the inadequacy of our site.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Eric. And I skipped my good friend, Graham Irwin. Sorry, Graham, you're up.
No worries, Zach. I've taken up so much time on this, so I won't take much now. I was curious who the manufacturers are of the curtain wall, both the aluminum and wooden curtain walls that you showed us. Thank you.
For aluminum curtain wall, we supply Schuco as our flagship brand and Aluprof as our value engineer brand. And for wood curtain wall, we use Macrowin, our flagship wood window brand. It's very interesting to know that the Macrowin wood curtain wall manufacturer uses a Schuco component for the exterior aluminum portion of the glazing pocket, right? So that product is actually a hybrid of a Schuco component on the outside and the Macrowin component in the structure of the curtain wall. All of these products are phenomenal products. Schuco, as you know, I studied the corner details. I studied various types of fenestration, curtain wall fenestration systems. Schuco, the detailing, the gasketry, the really custom parts that are built in there. They are an absolute leader in curtain wall systems, and many most prestigious skyscrapers in the world are built using this system. So you know that by the time we're using them on a smaller building or a residential project, it's a phenomenally engineered product. One of the reasons why we like to work with the Schuco systems, Schuco provides us with a very sophisticated software infrastructure as we're pricing and designing their system. So as our estimators are entering your particular curtain wall into the pricing software and are pricing it for you, they are right away engineering the system. So we say, hey, this project's in a 115 miles per hour zone. These are the requirements that we have for it. Right away, we're calculating everything for both curtain wall and window wall systems with that specific wind load calculated in it. So by the time you get a quote from us, all the engineering has already been done. And this can be 8 months before you enter shop drawings, right? So there are no surprises by the time you enter the shop drawings phase.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Appreciate it. Next up is Mike Lind, and Mike asked me to read the question for him, and that is, Patrick, could you describe the pros and cons of the US versus European IGUs?
Yeah, so let me, we have an unnamed US cross-section here somewhere.
Excellent.
I will not mention any names right over here, but this is.
I'm going to spotlight this. Yeah.
This is what the North American window looks like. So wood aluminum clad windows. Let me grab a wood aluminum clad window from here. Okay. It does not really take rocket scientist to figure out what the difference is, right? You know how I was telling you a little bit about like the hesitancy for the North American manufacturers, like, you know, we're not going to do anything about sash. We've been building this sash like this for 50 years, and can we squeeze a little bit more like insulating power right in here? It is the depth of glass, the quality of the spacer in the glass itself, and of course the number of panes that you have in there as well. I mean, this is really the sad story of the North American window. You know, last year we had an upgrade to the Energy Star performance metrics, right? And for many, many years, we were complaining because whenever somebody mentioned Energy Star to us, we were just like, Energy Star is like, that's so like below of like the kind of performance that they're working with. And for the first time, Energy Star kind of graduated to kind of the 21st century of what our expectations should be for U value performance of windows. And a lot of double pane window assemblies just simply could not reach those metrics anymore. Energy Star was so easy to get, you know, in the past. And I went to Las Vegas to the International Builders Show, and I was going booth by booth through the North American window manufacturers, and each one of them I was asking them, hey, what is your answer to the new Energy Star requirements? And they were like, you know, we're going to try to do some low-E coating on the outside or something like that. They were just trying to squeeze just barely into the climatic zone requirements that they're right under. And none of them have really like taken a hard look at how they're building the window and say, you know what, we're going to try to figure out a way to do a triple pane assembly within this window. And I don't think they have to do like really heroic things to design a better window. They're just so resistant to doing that. But I think that is going to change. The you know, high performance industry used to be this niche group of really eccentric designers and architects, and we're not there anymore. We are building skyscrapers to high energy performance standards. We're building commercial buildings. Most academic projects now are building. It used to be kind of like an East Coast or a big city question, and now we're slowly penetrating the rest of the country. I think the geographic penetration of these ideas and way of building is, I think, is going to be the hardest part. I traveled with Steve Basic to a project that he had in Iowa. And it was amazing because we were there. We were looking at half-built, you know, framed homes, and we saw membranes and wraps that I have never seen here in the Boston area. There is a very geographic kind of product mix that people are used to, that lumber yards carry and whatnot, and that cross-pollination of the ideas, and even something like a zip system wall is slowly penetrating the country. We saw the same thing with close and open cell foam. When I was building my house 25 years ago, I was like watching this old house. I was this big enthusiast, and I literally had to call the this old house guys to get like spray foam into the walls of my home, and I had my R5 windows and whatnot. You know, spray foam is not a New England thing anymore. Spray foam is now available everywhere in the country, and I think we are right now at the precipice of a huge explosion in the way we build high performance buildings. The explosion has already happened in New York City, Chicago, Boston, and all of these areas, and now we're going to be seeing it in the rest of the country. And I don't think we're just hopefully going to stop building mediocre buildings soon.
You're here. You're here. So diving in a little bit deeper on this question about the IGUs, Mike is curious about the high performance triple pane cardinal glass IGUs and the comparison of those with comparable IGUs in Europe, and what are the pros and cons with that comparison?
I am not very familiar with the Cardinals product line, particularly their low-E coatings. I do know that there are differences in the low-E coatings between what the preferred low-E coatings are here in North America. Primarily, we would see it as we were lowering solar heat gain coefficient. So as we started supplying projects to locations like Texas, the solar heat gain had to come dramatically down. And very often visual transmittance suffered as a result of that. How much the visual transmittance got reduced depended on the availability of low E coatings you had. And Europeans had some very good low E coatings available to us in still maintaining a relatively good visible transmittance. We work for the most part with Saint-Gobain glass, which has just an incredibly flexible selection of glass and low E coating options for us. So we, very often people say, I want to put low E glass into these windows. Well, we consider low E glass as kind of like one label for glass, but we can create like 40 different permutations of low E glass assemblies by putting a different coating on surface 2 and surface 5, in this window. And the choices that you make in that placement has a dramatic impact on, visible transmittance or heat gain coefficients and the performance of that window. I think North American glass manufacturers are retooling for triple pane glass assemblies, which is good news. There was a time like 10 years ago where we considered sourcing triple pane glass here in North America for particular projects, and the glass manufacturers were telling us like triple glass is like a whole different like tooling ball game, and the price point was just incredible. In Europe, the cost difference between a double pane and triple pane glass assembly of the same size is just a commodity cost differential. It's a cost of spacer and another 4 millimeter glass substrate. And so I think we're going to be seeing more and more availability of good products from North American manufacturers, and it's going to be good news for buildings that are built here. So
great. Thank you, Patrick. And we're getting down to the final questions here. We're now an hour and a half in. This has been a really wonderful conversation and lots of great questions and discussion. Jeff, do you have another question? I want to make sure that we take care of you if you do.
Yeah, real quick. It's simple. One of the things that I've run into is a difficulty in ordering units that are taller than a container. Whereas a lot of manufacturers only bring one tall container a month or every 2 or 3 months or something like that. How does that affect you guys as far as ordering from you guys and delivery timelines and things like that?
We only use tall high cube containers. So every single container that comes to this facility is a high cube container. The only exception is if we are shipping a small size project directly to a remote location. Like we have a project that's going, you remember I spoke about the unique projects that go to the West Coast. There's a project that's going, I believe, to Arizona from the West Coast. It's a 20-foot container, and that's not available in a high cube version. And fortunately, the largest lift slide door in that order fit within 1 inch of the ceiling of that container. But tall units are just a huge part of our business. So in most instances, so we were looking at this lift slide door right over here, which is 10 feet tall. That lift slide door does not fit into any containers out there. Even the container, that has an open top that you can put like a tarp over. If we put that door in that container, the tractor trailer would hit the bridges under the overpasses, right? And so for all of these really oversized products, we ship the products broken down, so the frame is disassembled. The sashes are individually packed, and they're packed on the long side. And so that 10-foot door can very easily fit into a regular container. Our installation crew assembles the frame, puts the sashes in. It's actually really good for installation as well, because you can assemble the frame, put it into the rough opening, get your plumb, level everything down, your laser, hit the frame. You can have like 3 guys doing it because the frame only weighs 1,800 pounds or so. And then you put 2,000 pounds of sashes into that assembly. We have an in-house installation crew that does this assembly. We sometimes install the entire door. Sometimes we send one crew member. So we have a project in the Midwest or in Virginia Beach. We send one of our technicians for a 1-day trip. They show up at the job site in the morning. They spend a whole day with the local crew. They assemble the lift slide door frame, put it into opening, hang the sashes in, and our technician flies out, and the rest of the crew installs the rest of the house right over there. So we are specialists in oversized units. The really hard part we have with oversized units where both sides of whatever you're shipping are over, 9 or 10 feet. And there we have some very special shipping logistical solutions to it. I urge you to reach out to us and we'll show you what the options are for that.
Thank you. Sounds like a great option.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. And we had a question from Greg Bishop, who's based in Seattle, that I'd love to pose for him. He asks, is argon the only issue limiting delivery of windows over the Rockies? What are the case-by-case criteria for West Coast projects? Okay.
So high altitude glass. When you have a sealed IGU cavity, insulated glass unit cavity, if you have it sealed and you go up the mountain, you will eventually crack the glass because the glass is going to swell up. When you are dealing with high altitude passage or high installations, we use special Swiss air valves, which enable the windows to depressurize the cavity and repressurize it. You're going to Aspen, you're going over a 12,000 foot pass, and then you get down to, maybe you end up with 9,000 feet or something like that. That window has just released pressure and brought pressure back in. The valves are specifically designed not to let moisture in, so you don't get condensation on the glass, but high altitude glass does not have argon in it. And the moment you run that into a glass calculator, you see a penalty in your U value, right? So your glass was R10, center of glass, and now you might have a glass R7.5 or something like that as a result of that. And so typically, we do not want to be sending windows with the valves to California over the mountains and have argon in there. So if you're building a home in LA, this has to be a substantial project which has its own container shipment. You spend a little bit more time on the sea and you enter the port of Los Angeles and you never experience this high altitude. It is possible that we will sign up a dealer in California and we'll just do this a lot more. It's just the nature of the trajectory of each business. The West Coast is just not a big focus of ours right now. It could become a focus 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah.
A lot of that happens spontaneously,
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Kim Davis and Kara Eng, for making this happen. And have a wonderful Thursday, everybody.